Hey, all right. Here we are at day 3 of a 5-day series, right? Oh man, based around men. Stop hiding behind silence in your relationships. Stop using that as a mechanism to protect yourself. Stop using that as a mechanism to build a wall up in a good and healthy relationship just because. And we're going to talk about those because we've been talking about those because. And for those of you that are catching this for the first day, welcome. And for those of you that have been dropping in and out over the first couple of days, thank you for coming back. And we want you to know that it's important, right? That you guys let us know where you're coming in from. Let us know what resonates with you. Thumbs up, love, all those things are very important. And if there's something that we haven't spoke about yet, then please identify that so we can get to that, right? Because this is a conversation, right? And the comment section is where you talk to me. The comment section is where you let me know that you hear me or not hear me. Comment section is where we can really build this community together, right? Oh man, so welcome to day 3. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jeff Tyson, affectionately known as the Comeback King and founder of Comeback King Enterprises and also co-host of Conversations with Jeff, who is sponsoring this series. And man, we are excited to be here and we want you to know that you matter. How you feel about vulnerability, how you feel about authenticity, how you have some real issues around it, those things matter. And the other side of that is there's a point where what are you going to do about it? Right? And I hear all the time when men we battling to try and find a place where we can be vulnerable because we've tried it before and it was used against us, or we lost the positioning. We felt like we lost the positioning in a situation when we raised our hand and say, "This is how I'm really feeling." Put your spin on. Let me know your situations where vulnerability was something that you're like, I don't think I'm ever going to do that again. Right? There's a reason why we do what we do. And those reasons going unsolved continue to show up in our relationships, continue to show up in our ability to trust, continue to show our ability to trust and be vulnerable and expose our feelings. So the consequences of it is we live a life, mine in the past, where we're isolating ourselves from true love. We're isolating ourselves from people that really care about us, that can bring value to us, right? And yeah, we're talking about relationships in this segment of our series, and it's so important, right? So, for anybody, if you're just stopping in, I just want to let you know, for those who this thing is really for, they haven't figured it out already. It's for that man and a woman, but men, I'm talking to you this week particularly around the power of and the detriment of silence. You're in an argument. First thing you do, things don't go your way, you begin to shut down, you withdraw, you come back in the little ball in a little huddle, and then she asks, "What's going on?" "Nothing." "You okay?" "I'm fine." Uh, right? And that continues on. And then you either solve it because you've been working on yourself and you realize that that's something that a space that you really don't want to operate in, right? I mean, you worked on yourself, you recognized the pattern, you disrupted the pattern, and you've done some things, and you found that, hey, Jeff was right. This is something I can work on, I can fix for myself. Or you're using it to gain control and keep control of the situation because deep down inside, you're still afraid to be vulnerable. You're still afraid, or you have some issues around that. And I don't want to make fun. I'm not here to make fun of those people because I was that guy. And I can be, look, man, I can be that guy still today after 30 years of working on this stuff, man. Right? It can still happen. It's a choice. And you hear about choices in life. Every day we make a choice. What choices are you making today? Right? How are you standing into your relationship? How are you accepting the responsibilities in your relationship? Because that's what we're here to talk about, the relationship piece and the vulnerability piece and silence, right? This is what we've been talking about the last couple of days. And if you missed it the first day, and which I believe is really important, it sets up, we've got 5 days. And your first day, go back and catch the recording. I think they're still out there. Turn your pain from excuses into strength. And how do you do that? And why it happens? And look at all the triggers, man. We had great conversation around it. Turn your pain, right? Turn your pain from excuses into strength. Accepting responsibilities. Owning the wounds that are unsettled. Own the stinking thinking that kicks off when your feelings are hurt and you're triggered, right? All those behaviors, pattern recognition, recognizing our patterns, being aware of it, taking some practice with the mirror moment, right? That magical thing that helps you reset, that magical thing that helps you really face yourself and look yourself in the mirror, right? Then day two, learn when silence is wisdom and when there's fear, and when it is fear dressed up as strength. Woo. Know when silence is truly wisdom. In other words, when you know you're getting ready to put your foot in your mouth, you shut the heck up, right? And breathe through whatever that exercise is that you're going through. Or you use it as a weapon, right? As an excuse, dressed up as strength. So those are the first 2 days, and everything kind of builds on top of one another, right? So the first day is looking at the wound. Second day is really about learning the wisdom to know the difference, right? And today, man, look, today, and before I get to that, is it okay if during our conversation, I maybe do some things that might feel a little pointed at you? I may do some or say some things that might nudge you a little bit. I've got to nudge you off your square just a little bit. Can you give me permission to do that? If you're hearing the replays and you want to do that, just say yes. I gave you permission, Jeff. Please do. I'm gonna do it anyway, but if I would be courteous to ask, right? But listen, I'm not here to waste your time. I'm not here to just give you some fluff stuff, man. I'm gonna give you some stuff that's worked for people and has worked for me. And my goal today is for you to understand that you can find some grace, right? This pattern that we've been talking about, this situation that keeps coming up, there is an answer for it, right? So today I talked about day one, day two, talked about who's this supposed to be for, and I asked permission to come at you as cleanly as possible with love in my heart, right? And because there are going to be some things that I want you to do through this process so that you can have an impact and have that impact now. I'm going to say it to you again, have that impact right now, because at the end of this day, let me make sure I got you straightened out here. I'm going to tell you what you can expect after today, right? You will understand that leadership begins when blame ends. That's the whole thing about today. That you understand that leadership begins the moment you say, all right, I looked at my wounds. I know I got some issues I got to work out. And I know I know that day two was learning when silence. I learned how to use some silence and not use it as a weapon. And now taking the responsibility, baby. Stop blaming and start leading. And man, listen, I've told you guys each and every day that I do qualify. And I still deal with these issues today. When I want to go silent on some things, if my feelings are hurt, or if I feel like I'm right about something, or if it's just one of them human days, right, when you feel sorry for yourself. So goodness, I don't have many of those. And I'll think it was recently when my wife and I were visiting our grandkids, and I said I was going to take my granddaughter to breakfast or something, and some things didn't work out that way, and we didn't go to breakfast, and my wife's looking at me like, right, and I'm thinking, There was a period of time when I didn't respond properly. I kind of withdrew. I wanted to blame my granddaughter because whatever in my mind, I don't say this out loud, but I was blaming her for something. It wasn't my fault yet. I couldn't get to the point where it was my fault. It was my responsibility. I made the commitment, right? Fortunately, I learned not to start spewing things out that weren't true. And eventually, my wife came back to me. She said, you ready to grow up? You ready to behave like a human being and an adult?" Woo, man. Hey, fellas, this is the joy in getting to that. When your partner is comfortable talking to you about whatever it is, man, right? Because you've learned how to stop using all these little tools that we use when our feelings are hurt to kind of control things, to kind of keep ourselves protected. Man, aren't you tired of that? I know how it was. Man, let me stay on target here, right? So anyway, So what are we gonna talk to y'all about today? Let me see if I got my stuff in order here, man. And y'all know I like to keep notes in here because some things change. I prepare something, and then at the last minute, I feel something else is more important, and you guys give me something to think about. So I go to notes, I put things down, to kind of stay on target, right? So you guys know this. And I think I've said this, and I just want to make sure if you just dropped in. I know some of you have been hurt and things have been used against you, and you have legitimate reasons to feel a certain way. You trusted people. You trusted people with your pain, your real emotions, opened your heart up, and they just stepped all over it. I mean, I already told you I get it. But man, at some point, fellas, we have to understand that that no longer can be the reason why we choose, because it's a choice. Why we choose to stay stuck in that space and use it, right? But I have heard you. I know that. Man, I gotta tell you, at some point, I want you to look in the mirror and understand that blame becomes the reason why you stay stuck. Blame becomes the reason why you're redoing another relationship. How many are you going into relationships? Everything is working out well. You think everything is fine, but then over a period of time, you find yourself in the same position along the way. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. One of them is that for me, it was pointed out to me when I was in that situation that I wasn't really, I hadn't gotten to the point where I could see sinus as a mechanism I was using for control. I was just running off of that energy, right? I was guarding myself. I was protecting myself. So what kind of woman do you think I was attracting? Yes, I was attracting that same person. So you're doing that, man, whether you want to admit it or not. If you haven't begun to work on some of these things we're talking about, so you're attracting that crazy, right? So it would work be out okay for a little while, and then I had to go move on to somebody else and all that other stuff. Anybody out there doing that? I know you are. I know you're out there, man. Right? And in a marriage, man, when you're talking about marriage, now you're in a situation where you're supposed to be here and you're together and you want to stay together and you're pulling the same old nonsense. And your wife is pouring into you. She's doing everything she can to do that. Whatever your partner is, right, pouring into you, and you are still stuck. That's really what we're talking about, right? You're still stuck. But like I said, at some point, when we believe it's a comeback king enterprise, at some point, blame becomes the reason why you're stuck. You already know that. Listen, what happens to you is real. What happened to me was real. Excuse me. But it's still my responsibility to fix it. That's the piece that was hard for me, right? And I talked to a lot of guys, and we talked for a minute, and then they end up back and well, she did this, and then she did that, and then I responded this way, and I would kind of come back to the same point of day one where we haven't really been able to identify the wounds, right? That was really going on, so we're still dragging old stuff from the past and really haven't settled in on the fact that hey, we got some work to do in that space, right? And then we can turn those excuses into something else, right? We can gain some strength from that behavior. Man, this is just, come on, guys. When's enough is enough? Blame looks backward. In other words, every time you're blaming somebody else, you're still staying stuck in the current situation or you're basing something off of the past. And guess what? Leadership looks forward. Blame looks backwards. Leadership looks forward. I had a hard time with that at first, man, but it's true. We lead ourselves. Fill in the blanks. Raise your hand. How have you been? What kind of leader have you been for yourself? Blame says, this is the way I am, baby. I'm sorry, but you got to take it or leave it. This is how I am. I used to say that all the time. I was like, yeah, this is how I am. I do all these other things, but this is one thing I'm just going to be that. You made it. It's your fault because you said this, or because you did this, or because I wanted this and it didn't go my way. This is how I respond and blame you. This is why I am. Man, that's a bunch of crap. How many of us are out there saying this is the way I am? I'm gonna tell you something. Listen, real leadership is saying, okay, this is where I grow from. You put that stand up. And no longer am I going to blame. No longer am I going to be digging back in the past, looking for reasons, or being run by things that are old and stale. And be that leader and look forward, right? And we're going to tell you how you can do that, man. Huh? You already know. But this is just something, some suggestions, right? And this is part of what I asked if I could give you some suggestions, ask you a couple of things about you, and then you tell me or not. And then, you walk away from this thing and you think about it. Because once you hear this message, it's going to continue to cycle in your brain. Right? When you hear and you hear this and you never come back to see me again, this is going to circulate in your brain. At some point, you're going to say, man, that dude was right. I can see what I'm doing to myself. I can see the self-destructive nature of what I'm choosing to do. I don't want to do it anymore. So if that's you, come back and see me, right? Come back and see me. So as I get into the part where you guys are really going to maybe not like me as much, that's okay. I'm not here to have you like me. I'm here to help you understand the gifts that we have to change, the possibilities, and all this stuff being real. Because it's a real thing, man. I told you yesterday I was talking to one of my neighbors, and she was saying, "What are you doing?" And I started talking to her about that, and she said, "Oh man, woo-hoo, you're not kidding." And then she went on with some examples of recent things with her partner, and we all have it. So this is real stuff, man. And the mirror moment will allow you some freedom and allow you some freedom right now. I ain't talking about doing some things later. I'm talking about right now, today. If you hear this thing, man, I'm talking about getting some freedom right now, today, baby. Freedom from yourself, freedom from the crazy, freedom from the repetitive patterns that are running your life in this space, in this relationship, the relationship that you say you want to keep, the relationship you say you're committed to grow in and be a leader in and share all the things that great relationships give you. But are you still explaining your pain, though? Are you still explaining your pain? Well, I'm doing this because, or, in 1925, however long ago it was, this happened to me. And I just really don't think, whatever that noise is you're saying. Or are you finally ready to leave through it? Explaining your pain still, or ready to leave through it? And that's that mirror moment. So now here's why I ask you to participate, because I've got about 3 things I'm going to ask you, right? And like always, please just kind of think about it, and hear the replay dropping in there. But who am I still blaming for the man I refuse to become? That's the first one. Who am I still blaming for the man that I refuse to become? Whose fault is it that I'm continuing to blow up relationships? Whose fault is it that I get close and I really like this person, and all of a sudden something happens, and then a week later, or the same day, things blow up, and you're all by yourself again, and you're starting that vicious cycle again. So who am I still blaming for the man I refuse to become? This is something I want you to think about, right? The other one is, what conversations? So who am I blaming? Who am I still blaming for all these things that are going on? And what conversations am I avoiding? Folks, what conversations am I avoiding because blaming, this is that familiar pain versus change. Blaming feels comfortable. I got comfortable in this whole blaming piece. I got comfortable and I got really good at going silent. I got really good at using it as a weapon to protect myself. But you know what? The real truth of it is I really didn't get good at it. I just had partners that weren't healthy partners. So they allowed me to be a certain way, and they had things, and I allowed them to be a certain way. And as long as the chips kind of landed, I got what I wanted, and she got what she wanted, it was okay. But it was never a real relationship, man. You guys know what I'm talking about. Ladies, I don't know if you listen, and you know what I'm talking about too. It was never healthy, man. So who am I still blaming for the man I refuse to become? What conversations am I avoiding Because blaming, blaming seems easier. Making excuses is easier to do. What is that? And the last one, what would leadership look like? What would your leadership look like if you stopped waiting? What would your leadership look like if you stopped waiting for someone else to change it first? And what will it look like when you decide to be that one to make a change? Because it's up to you. I can't make you change. She won't make you change. Wanting to want her to want you to change is not going to happen. You have to make that decision. I had to make that decision. And I didn't know that I didn't, that I could. I just felt I wasn't aware that there was some old wounds still running rampant in my situation. I wasn't aware. I didn't have that mirror moment where I can see the reflection, and in that reflection, I can go back through, get all the way back to where the real thing happened to me when I was a teenager, my first one that I remembered, right? And I remembered a lot of things after that by working on myself. But when I could go back to where's the origin of your pain, baby? Where's that? I'm off script right now, but let's talk about where's the origin of your pain. Have you looked at that? And you say, yeah, Jeff, I have, and I've got a therapist and all that, but you're acting the same way. Why is that? And I'm not a therapist, and I believe in therapy. But I also believe in the fact that real life situations, lived, learned, and earned, make the difference, right? And I don't care if you like me or not. And I'm not restricted by the rules of therapy. Right. So anyway, I refer therapists all the time because again, I am not a therapist. But I'm a 30-year plus guy working on situations with myself in terms of this. I've got some experience and a lot of failures, but a lot of successes too, baby. So anyway, that's it. What would be leadership? Now, here we go. This piece is good. I want you to do this exercise with me. Now we're going to think about shifting the blame into leadership. Because why? Blame. Why do we want to do that? You already know this. I'm just a reminder. Blame keeps you powerless. Leadership gives you the power back. You guys can read along with that. Blame keeps you powerless. Leadership gives you the power back. Simple as that. But it comes and goes. It ebbs and flows. You've got to be willing to do some things to kind of reset that, right? That pattern disruptor, man. How you do that, all those things. But that mirror every day, you're looking in the mirror and you're saying, okay, today we win today. Today I'm not going to respond. I'm going to use wisdom in my actions. And I'm not going to blame. I want to pay attention to what's really going on in my emotions, right? Taking some responsibilities, man. You cannot control who you hurt. You cannot control who misunderstands you. Can't control who you hurt. You can't control who misunderstands you. We get that. Check this one out. You cannot control who failed to handle your vulnerability with care. Okay, you just stop. You can't do it, man. Here's the thing. It's always a but, right? All those things I told you can't control, but you can control. Let's talk about what you can control, man. Whether you keep hiding, whether you keep choosing to hide. And I kept choosing, man. I told y'all that. I didn't know I was choosing because I was afraid. I was still feeling that sting of all the different times I was hurt and I never dealt with it. Right? I blamed, and some of it was malicious. And I will tell you, I didn't have a lot of that malicious behavior towards me because I made sure of that. Right? I didn't want to feel the hurt and the pain anymore, man. Come on now. I know I ain't the only one. I know I'm not. Who are you out there? Raise your hand. Well, maybe I don't want to raise your hand. DM me in silence. This is a private conversation. If you're like, Jeff, man, this is all me, DM me in silence and we can have a conversation. But you cannot control whether you keep hiding behind the story if you don't make a choice, because you can. So I can't control it. Yeah, you can. You can. You can make a difference, man. You can make a difference. And look, in Comeback King world, we talk about you can come back starts the moment. We talk about this, and hear me when I say this. We talk about your comeback starts the moment you take responsibility. Stop making the past the boss of your future. Stop making, how many of us making the past the boss of our future? Let's see. Okay. Take a look at it. So we're all right. Everybody doing okay? So listen, you already got it. Shifting the blame now from blame to leadership. We talked about that mirror moment, asking yourself some who and what and why questions, right? So you guys are starting to see some things. Remember I told you at the very beginning what the outcome of today is going to be for you. Okay. So here's the best part of this whole thing. Well, there's a lot of good parts, but this one is some homework for you to do when you hear this replay or you're watching. Let me know where you're coming in from, please, and because I don't see all of that. If you're YouTube or something like that, I may not see you. Anyway, where you are, give them some action steps. I'm gonna get ready to give you something to do. And today, I'm gonna read it first. I always do that because it's easier to do, and I don't mess it up. And I know it's probably in the description somewhere, so you have it. Take it home, and then you can just expand on this, right? Name one place where you've been blaming instead of leading. I gave an example of mine just recently dealing with my grandkids and not doing what I was supposed to do with my granddaughter, who I love to death, 16 years old recently. Man, we just had a tremendous relationship together. I held her in my hands when she was born. Right? As a matter of fact, I've held all three of them. The blessing of having that opportunity is amazing. Anyway, so I didn't do what I was supposed to do, right? I told you that. So here we go. I have been blaming blank, but today I will lead by. So that day I was blaming her. Right? I was kind of trying to blame my wife, who had really nothing to do with it. Right? I was trying to blame whatever I could because I wasn't wanting to take responsibilities for my actions, right? That I failed to do something to someone I love, for someone I love, with someone I love. I was mad at myself. How many of us go around being mad at ourselves? How many of us go around holding feelings against ourselves because we're doing things that we said we wouldn't do? That was me. Anyway, so, and if you're just jumping on, man, we're kind of winding down. We're getting to the end of some things, but go back and watch the replay because we talked a lot about the mirror moment, taking blame, right? Choosing leadership over blame. We talked about at the very beginning some really powerful things. So make sure you go back and check it out, right? And shifting how to shift the blame into leadership. So we're at this exercise now where you're writing down something that I ask you to finish. And I'll give you an example of it. So I finished it up. So what did I ask you? I have been blaming blank, but today I will lead by blank. So I gave you an example. I've been blaming my past, right? I've been blaming my past for why I shut down, for why I isolate, for why I use the silent treatment. But today, like a blank says, I will lead by, and this one says having one honest conversation without attacking or disappearing. The key thing is that's honest, vulnerable conversation. So I want you to write that down, keep that with you, and then just replace it each day for a week. Use that one, and I have been blaming X. There's a lot that you can write in there. I know. There's stuff in there that you can fill out for months. Right? So what is it that you've been blaming? Put that in there and do the exercise. And if you marry your girlfriend or whatever you got, just y'all sit down and do it together. Because she's probably been doing some of it too, but I ain't here to really say, hey, it's her fault, it's yours. It's your responsibility, fellas. It's her fault if she tolerates it. Ladies, did you hear what I just said? It's your fault if you tolerate it beyond a certain point. You gotta have some grace because we're hard-headed, knucklehead kind of human beings, creatures like that, right? We don't always do it right, but we want to. And your grace makes the difference for sure. I'm not one of them guys that says, women have a certain place and all that. I'm one of them guys that understand the power of the gift of a powerful woman. Ain't nothing like it. I'm not one of those guys that have whatever it is, roles and whatever, man. My wife is powerful, right? Fills in gaps. I have gaps, man. We fill gaps together. And man, she's a queen, right? So however you feel about it, whatever that is, work on that, get over it, right? Understand that a true woman partner, whoever your partner is, whoever you love that loves you back, right? Whoever it is, I don't care what sex it is. I'm not that guy. I don't really care who you fall in love with or how you love them. I really don't, man. I just hope that you find it, right? So do the exercise, and remember, after today, what are you supposed to feel like today? If you really listen to this, go back and listen to this. Some of you are coming in and out, and that's all right. But stop blaming what happened and start leading what happens next. That's it. So you already go back and look at day one, day two, three, day three. It's about blaming no longer, shifting blame, right? And I'm excited about what I'm going to say to you now because here's the thing. My contact information is in the chat. You know, drop a comment in there when you do that. I know some people have been wanting to get a hold of me, so I've got something today I want you to think about. If this resonates with you, book a free call. Right? I'm usually having calls that aren't cheap, but this series we're going to kick off some opportunities just for us to have a discovery call, right? To kind of understand what it is, if anything, that I can help you with once I understand what's going on with you. And then from there, we can decide on the next steps. Free call, man. That's $1,000 gift back to you. 1 hour call, man. Right? And guess what? For those of you that do this thing here by the end of the day, take advantage of this call. You know, I'm gonna throw another call in there in 2 weeks. So 2 calls, man. In a 2 week period. First call is gonna be a discovery call. We're gonna really talk about some things. And if you're really serious and you really like that second call, don't waste my time. Right? I don't want you to waste my time. I don't just want to go through the exercise. But if you're like, hey, Jeff, man, and we come in there and we do some things, and I'm going to give you a couple of little steps of exercise to do, and we'll circle like back around in 2 weeks to see how it is. And you get another hour of my time. Right? And then you can decide where you want to go from there. Man, listen. For those of you that really kind of think, man, I like this dude. He's kind of broad. He's kind of like bold, and I believe that he has something that I can gain some experience from, that I can begin to change. I can go into becoming that leader that I know I'm supposed to be, and no longer be trapped by these behaviors that are fear-driven. Because I can't let go of the past. I keep dragging the past into the future, to my current situation. That's you, man. Do that. What am I giving you? I'm giving you 1 hour free call. And for those of you to get me between now and midnight, I'm going to give you another call in 14 days after we go through an exercise on another call. Right? I'd be raising my hand if I was you. Because I'm going to tell you this as we wrap up. That everything that I've shared with you has not been theory. Everything that I've shared with you about my life has been real. It's been backed by some real high level training and experiences that I've open book. When we come together, it's a private call, right? I don't broadcast the calls, obviously, right? You're in a safe spot, and we really get to it. And I've not had anybody ever turn down the second call, right? So, what are we going to do today? We're going to do what I said we would do. Understand that leadership begins when blame ends. No more blaming, fellas. And if you catch yourself blaming, start over again. Hit the reset button. That mirror moment does 3 things. It helps us become aware, helps us become restructured, refocused, and then reshaping a new identity and boundaries. Man. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm going to throw that in. In that call, somewhere in there, we're going to go through just kind of an exercise in the mirror moment that you can take away, right, and use, real powerful, that you and your partner can use. And man, it kind of gives you guardrails, right? It kind of gives you some reflectors, and most importantly, some pattern disruptors to kind of keep you back into that leadership space and not the blame space. So hey, do it now. Click that call. All right, first 5 folks to do that, click that call. Get what? Two free calls basically. 14 days after the first one, and the third bonus is I'm going to go through an exercise with you, right, around the mirror moment and the three key things that it provides, right? So you no longer have to use blame. You no longer have to hide. You no longer have to struggle in silence. but step into your real purpose, right? And as we say in Comeback King University, Comeback King Enterprises, that the comeback truly is based off of a lifestyle and not a limitation. And your lifestyle begins the moment you decide to take leadership of your life and your responsibilities. No more blame, baby. Stop making excuses. Own the wounds, right? And let's make this thing happen. 2 more days, right? So I'm going to run out of here now. You guys have a fantastic day. Take advantage of that. Click that link. If you have a problem with that, DM me. But do not waste this opportunity. 2 hours basically of phone calls free and an exercise in between there with a mirror moment that I believe, I know for a fact, will help you move from that blaming state to that leadership space in your own life and stop blowing up these relationships that mean something to you. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow, same time, 1:30. Pass this information on. Take conversations with Jeff for hosting this event and Comeback King Enterprises for working on the details around this situation and this information that you're provided with. And we will see y'all tomorrow. Take care. No more blame, baby. Take that responsibility. Let's make the difference. Let's rise together. Your comeback starts now. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.